Hey guys, what's going on? I'm bringing you a brand new video today. This is the 2016 Bloomington criterium, and if you remember last year, I crashed at this corner that we're coming up to right here pretty early into the race. Also last year, if you remember, it was wet out. So you can see it's actually bone dry out, but it is super hot and super humid today, and you'll kind of see my heart rate reflect that pretty early into the race itself. So this is the first lap. This is the Cat 3. We had a couple newer guys from the 4s. They upgraded. I was super excited to race with them. One of them's Marty. He's right there, just right in front of me. Super awesome rider. Love riding with him. Was really looking forward to doing his first Cat 3 race with him today. So this course is pretty basic. It's not super technical, but these corners are just fast enough where if you get off the front and you get a little bit of a gap, it's relatively easy to stay away. Now, I'm not really a climber or breakaway artist, but the first year that I did this race, I actually ended up in a 3-man breakaway with Mark, who is right there on my right in the ABD kit. So I know that I can do it on this course, but it's not really my style of riding. You can see right here I'm a little further back than I'd like to be, and I do end up changing that pretty quickly. I know that I'm too far back and I want to be up further, especially going up the hill on the other side of this course, because if I'm towards the front, I'm able to fall back and still be in the draft as I'm moving up. So you can kind of see I start to move up here. I notice that the pack is speeding up a little bit, so I want to get towards the front before everyone starts surging. So again here, I'm just moving up more, trying to get past some of these other guys in front of me. This corner was kind of tricky for some guys. A lot of people just kept going super wide through it. And then this one right here, if you went outside of this white line, as this guy on my right does, you can carry way more speed through this corner, and you end up picking up quite a few spots, and I did that quite a few times throughout the race. As long as you can carry your speed and hold your line through the corner, you come out a lot faster, and it makes it a whole lot easier to get up this hill because you're not accelerating up the first part. You just kind of get to carry your speed. So that's kind of what I did right here as I saw the front of the group accelerating. Again, I don't want to be on the front, but I want to be pretty near the front. I probably could have been on a wheel there instead of just out in the wind, but I just took my place where I thought I could be. And then luckily for me, these guys kind of sit up and the pace slows down slightly so I can get a little bit of a rest. If you look at my heart rate right now, it's about 194, 195, so it was cooking. Again, there's that wide corner through the barriers. Multiple times throughout the race, I was on the feet of the barriers. And it was totally fine if you had your bike upright on the barriers, but there's an attack here. I know that I'm not going to want to chase that down myself, so I just kind of stick on these guys' wheels. And eventually, the attack just kind of gives up. Everybody just kind of sits up, and I'm totally happy to do that. So again, we're keeping wide through this corner to try and carry as much speed as we can and come out faster than the guys in front of me so that I can just hop on a wheel. Here I, again, kind of get stuck out in the wind. I notice that this guy in black is just kind of putzing up the hill, so I try and kind of push my way towards his back wheel, and luckily the Burnham guy on my left moves in a little bit, and I'm able to take some of the draft. There was attacks on this hill all day, and I knew that that was going to happen coming into this race. So again, I always wanted to be ready towards the front. And you can see here I'm doing a decent amount of work, but less work than the guys at the front of the group chasing that attack for sure. So I start to fall back a little bit, which at this point in the race it's not ideal, but it's okay. We're about halfway through the race. So there was these two riders, the Bonkers riders, and I knew that Paul here, he's a small guy. This is his last day, I think his last race as a junior. So he's really strong, and I knew that I wanted to be on him if he tried to do something. So I just kind of moved to the front and sit close to his wheel. Probably could have been a little bit more in his draft, but overall, I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't going to try and put in an attack. If he was, it was probably going to be on the hill anyway, so I wanted to be close to him to just fall back through the field if I needed to. So we're carrying our speed through this corner. You can kind of see I'm able to come up and just not have to pedal as much as the guys in front of me. If you look further up the road, there is a couple guys off the front. We're working kind of hard, but we're not really picking up the pace that much. You can see Mark up there starts to get away a little bit, and he really wanted to get into that break, and he puts in some pretty big efforts and actually makes it up to that breakaway. And Marty and I are just kind of, keeping our pace steady, not really killing ourselves too much. We just want to make sure that we can keep that breakaway in view, because if they get out of our view and we can't see where they are, like they are right at this moment, then they have a better chance of staying away on this course. We just want to keep them in our eyesight and know that we can still catch them. I do start to pick up the pace downhill a little bit. It's easy for me. I'm a big guy. I carry a lot of speed through the corner. So I know if we can carry some speed through here, maybe we can bridge back up to Mark. And then once we bridged up to Mark, he'll start to fall back a little bit because he was trying to make that gap. And then we can make up the rest of the gap to that breakaway. And I mean, you can see they have a pretty decent gap there. There's two riders, and then Mark, and then us. Now, I was kind of worried at this point in the race because Mark is a super strong rider. The other two guys that were up the road are also very, very strong. And you can see a couple other guys in the group get a little bit more impatient, which is totally fine with me. I fall back a little bit, but it just means that I can take on some draft and relax a little bit because the rest of the group is going to reel in the breakaway. So we reel them in, and everybody just kind of sat up, and you can see the field just kind of exploded here because there was a flurry of attacks. I know that I need to get way further forward because all those guys behind me were going way too slow. If they just kept their pace, then I was no way I was going to get towards the front of this race. So I try to sit on some wheels and just get further up into the pack. You can see there's about 10 riders up the road there, and 4 or 5 in front of me. Luckily, everybody does end up coming back together. And I use this time to get on a wheel and to get some rest. Really, I'm just trying to get as much draft as possible up this hill so that I can relax and let my heart rate come down a little bit. I do see riders moving up on the right and the left, and I just really was trying to be aware of any attacks that were going to come on that hill and really just try and anticipate them as much as I could. So here we were just kind of putzing along up the hill, and again, there's a decent surge. I had to put some watts down and stay with the group. Nothing really comes of it, so we slow down. Right now I'm sitting about 7th, 8th wheel, which is a pretty good spot to be. We're about 3/4 done with the race. Again, over and over up this hill there were attacks, so I was really just trying to get further forward. I try and get on this wheel a little bit. The guy next to me doesn't let me on, so I just sit up. The guy in front sits up, and we slow down again. But this was basically the entire end of the race was just jump after jump up that hill, and it really started to take a toll on me. I was still staying towards the front of the race. Right now I'm 2nd wheel, and we see some guys accelerating on the left here, and so absolutely want to jump on those wheels. I just stick on this guy in the black. He seems strong. He jumps on a couple other wheels, and we end up just reeling those guys back in. Nothing really comes of it. These efforts are really starting to beat me up. It was so hot that day. I think the last 2 or 3 laps, my heart rate was in, 198, 199, 200s the whole rest of that race. Just really trying to carry as much speed as I could through these corners, while also not having to take a whole lot of pulls, because I really wanted to try and conserve some energy for the last sprint down this downhill. There's not a lot of room, but you can make up some decent spots if you take the right line and you carry enough speed. So you can see these guys kind of sit up, and I'm totally okay with that. Just kind of trying to maintain my momentum. I hop on Mark's wheel here. I know Mark is a super strong rider, and I know that if he's going to put in an attack, it's going to be pretty soon because we've got about 2 laps left. Honestly, watching the video now, I should be more on his wheel than I am, but I was pretty tired at this time. So there's a little bit of an attack, a little bit of a kick up the end of the hill there. Mark is still on the front, so I use that to my advantage so that I don't have to actually pull in the attack. This other South Chicago Wheelman rider is Mark, and Kevin right there. These two guys are really strong riders, and they have that rider on the front there. So they're trying to get to the front to control the race. So I know that I can use them to get up to the front there before they start sitting up. You can kind of see Mark puts in an attack here. The rest of the group chases because this is the second to last lap. And so we're putting in huge efforts up these hills, and you can see everybody's getting really antsy. This is where all the attacks are going to come in. Just trying to stay towards the front at this point of the race. Right about here, I'm way too far back. I really want to be, probably 5 or 6 guys, maybe even more, further up in this course. So here's the last lap. I do manage to move up a few spots, and I know that if I go outside here, I can carry some more speed, which I really try and do, try and keep my momentum going through this corner and maybe pick up 1 or 2 spots. And I know as soon as we exit this corner, there's going to be a jump, and of course there is. So I really try and get in some of the draft and just stay on a wheel up this hill. Some of these guys are much better climbers. They're much stronger than me up the hills. And so I really am just trying to stick with them. Coming through here, my spot's okay. I really, again, should be 5 or 6 guys further up. And so I know that I need to move up before these last few corners. And so what I'm trying to do here is just power through these corners. But you can see that the front group starts to get away from me a little bit. And I start to fall back. But it ended up being a blessing in disguise because there's a huge crash there. 3 guys go down. But Mark and Kevin actually got pretty beat up in that one. I end up trying to outsprint this guy, and the video doesn't show it that well, so I don't remember if I got him or not. But overall, it was a fun race. I finished 9th. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you next time. Paradise.